everyone, welcome back to another very exciting daily Photoshop Creative Challenge. My name is Jesus Ramirez. Thank you so much for joining me. I see a lot of familiar faces on the chat already. Valdier, Ted, Mustafa, Matt, Jenna, Sam Peterson, as always. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. How are you doing today? I hope that you're having a wonderful day. I am going to be working, of course, with Photoshop. And this is going to be an exciting challenge. We're going to be working on creating a phone pop-out effect. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a moment. Give me 1 second here while I bring up the files that we're going to be working with. Give me 1 second here. And if you guys can see, I have the wonderful, wonderful page, the Daily Challenge Creative Challenge page. This is going to be the main page for the next 2 weeks. The most important thing that you need to do on this page is click on the big blue button that says, oh, about audio again. No, why is the audio so weird again? I just tested it. Oh, man. I literally just tried it, and it worked perfect. All right, so let me figure that out. Let me try switching to a different microphone, and you guys tell me if that works, okay? Give me 1 second. Give me 1 quick second here. I literally just tested it. That's why I was even a little late. I wanted to double check and it worked fine. All right, does this audio sound any better? I know it's gonna take a little bit for you guys to see if it's gonna come on or not, but I just literally tried a new audio source. So let me know if that one works. I'll wait a moment to see and if it works. If not, then I'm gonna try one more thing. No, okay, cool. I'm gonna try one more thing. So sorry. Let me try that again. Try a new audio source. So let me know if that one works. I'll wait a moment to see and if it works. If not, then I'm gonna try one more thing. No, okay, cool. I'm gonna try one more thing. So sorry. Let me try that again. All right, cool. Let me know if this is better. Time to move to a Mac. 90. Let me know if this is any better. Let me know if that one works. Worse? Wow. Let me see. Well, let me know if it's getting worse. Okay. Wow. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try one other thing. Trying out one more thing. Okay, cool. Let me know if this is any better. I tried 3 mics now. Is this one any better? Reboot. Yeah, Jen, I think I might need a reboot. So let me know if this one doesn't work. I'll reboot it. Cool. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll reboot it. So I'll be right back, guys. Okay, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Hey everybody, I think I'm back, so please let me know if the audio sounds good. From what I can tell on my end, I am back, so let me know if you can hear me. I'm looking in the chat. Yay. Oh my god. I'm so sorry, guys. I did a test right before starting. Everything sounded perfect. All right, cool. So we're going to get right into it. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk too fast. Luckily, today was just a easier tutorial, easier challenge. So basically what you need to do is make sure that you click on this big blue button that you see here in this page. Take the challenge with us, click on the community chat. go into the Discord page and under current challenges, submit your work. And you guys have been working on that gilded object technique, which looks great. Some of you, all of you, did a fantastic job. So make sure that you check that out. Beautiful butterflies here. And also, we have a brand new Creative Challenges curated library. So make sure that whenever you create something with me or anybody else in the DCCs, whether it's an Illustrator DCC, XD DCC, or Photoshop DCC, you use the hashtags PS Daily Challenge, hashtag PS Daily Challenge, so you can have an opportunity to be featured in our gallery. And make sure that you scroll down and you go into the Play with Perspective box and click on the Getting Started file. And we can start working with today's challenge. So let me bring that up. You'll have two images in your layers panel. We have the skateboarder and the phone here on the table. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that the phone is where it needs to be. Where does it need to be? Well, it needs to be right on the table, obviously, but we need to place the skateboarder within the perspective of the phone so that it looks realistic. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it seem as if he's popping right out of that phone. And to do that, you need to find the perspective of an image. And actually, if you press Control semicolon, you'll see a guide. The guide is probably already showing. So if you don't see it, Control semicolon, Command semicolon on Windows to show and hide guides. And what you can do is you can go into the image and try to figure out the perspective of the image. And let me zoom out. And one of the best ways of finding the perspective of the image is by following the parallel converging lines in a scene. So if you follow all the lines in the scene, and you don't have to be perfect, you just need a vague idea of where the horizon line is. You can select the line tool and just find all the lines in the scene, and then you more or less will begin to see where they all meet. Where they meet, that's the vanishing point, and you can just press Control R, Command R on the Mac and drag a guide and place it. Again, you don't have to be precise. You can just be a little loose, but I just wanted to show you quickly how to get the perspectives, how to find the perspective of a scene by following the parallel converging lines. So now that we have that, we more or less know where we could place the photo on top. I'm reading a question in the chat. Where did the phone pic come from? It should be in the practice file. There should be two layers in there. There's a layer on top, which is the skater, and a layer below, which is the background. So they're both should be in the PSD. And what you need to do is enable the skater layer, and I'll hide the guide, Control semicolon, Command semicolon on the Mac. And what I need to do is figure out where his perspective is. Well, his is much easier. I can follow the parallel converging lines. You see that on the street? And it's probably right around here. You don't have to be precise. You just sort of have to know more or less where it is. And actually, I'll bring the guide back. And again, in the perfect world, I can place him here. But I don't necessarily have to do that. But if I place him way down here, he won't look realistic. If I place him way up here, he won't look realistic. So just stay within the range of the perspective and you should be fine. Cool. So now that we know that his horizon line is right here, more or less right above his knees, like in between his knees somewhere, doesn't have to be perfect. We can just keep that in mind. And the horizon line in the image bed here is basically where this light is. So again, we don't need the guide. We can keep that in our head. So in between the knees and right above that light, and just in that range, you should be okay. It's a Control semicolon to hide a guide. Control H hides all the extras. So there are two different keyboard shortcuts. You can use Control H to hide guides, but that will also hide other extras in your document. So you may not necessarily want that. So if you just want to hide the guide, Control semicolon, that's right next to the letter L, at least in North American keywords. So what you can do now is double click on the hand tool to fit it to screen, and then you have the skater. And I'm just going to use a really quick, fast technique to mask him out. I'm going to go into select and select subject, and that will use Adobe Sensei, Adobe's artificial intelligence, machine learning technology to make a selection around the skater, which is exactly what I want. And then I'll select right in between his leg here, just in case I need that area as well. So I'm going to hold Alt on Windows, Option in the Mac, and click and drag on that area to deselect. Obviously, I'm not going to be too precise. I'm just going to do a rough job now, but make sure that in your composites to go in there and fine tune everything. Click on the layer mask. And what I'm going to do now is simply place him where he needs to be. So remember, the horizon line is way up here and his is right about his knees, so I can do something like that. And it doesn't have to be perfect. As long as you get it close enough, you should be good. Then you can press Control T on Windows, Command T on the Mac, click and drag this point over onto that area there, and I can scale from that area. You can scale from an area by, oh, actually, you know what? I just remember this little point in the new version of Photoshop, Photoshop 2020, is not on by default. So if you've never enabled it before, you should enable it, and you can enable it by clicking on this icon here on the bottom, on the top left. You see that icon? So I can click on that pivot point and just place it anywhere. And what that allows me to do is to place it anywhere and rotate from that point or scale from that point. So what I'm going to do is select this pivot point, put it right here, that reference point, hold Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and click to scale from that point. So I'm scaling in perspective. And again, you don't have to be 100% precise. Like, right, if you wanted them to be that big, you can drag them down and it still looks good. But the point that I'm trying to make is if the perspective is way too off, things won't look right. So adjust it accordingly. In this case, you know, if I made it super, super tiny, you know, it kind of looks okay, I guess. But if you really want to keep things into perspective, then you have to keep that in mind. Again, you have a lot of wiggle room, but then after you go after a certain point, things don't look realistic. So anyway, so there he is. So I'm going to place him in there. And what I'll do now is I'll go into my background here, and I'm just going to make a quick, rough selection around my phone using the curvature pen tool. And the reason that I like using the curvature pen tool is because then I can double click on these points to straighten them like so. You can see that, and then you can adjust it much, much easier than you can with the pen tool. So I'm just making this selection around the screen on this phone as best as I can, like so. That looks pretty good. And what I'll do now is create a solid color adjustment layer. Press OK, and that's just going to be my new screen, right? There it is. I'm going to take this original layer, and what I'll do is I'll press Control J on Windows, Command J on the Mac. I'll hide the one on top, and I actually don't need the layer mask on the duplicate, so I'm just going to delete the layer mask. What I'll do now is press Control Alt G on Windows, Command Option G on the Mac to turn that into a clipping mask. But when I enable the layer on top, see that? It looks like he's popping right out of the phone. Pretty cool, right? And the cool thing that we can do now is use a tool that not a lot of people use, but is very, very powerful. If you select the skater on top, hold the Shift key, and click on the layer on top, you'll select both. When you have two or more layers selected, you'll get access to this icon here, which is a chain link icon, and that links both layers. So if I select just one layer, the other one will take the same transformation that I applied to it. So if I select the skater on top, it will automatically move the one on the bottom. And see that? See how we can create this super cool effect? See that? Really cool. Super cool. And if you decide that, you know what, my skater is not really in the right perspective, maybe I want him bigger, whatever you want to do, you can press Control T, Command T to transform, and both layers scale at the same time. And you can then just adjust him accordingly. At this point, if you want to get creative, what you can do is double click on the fill layer to the side of the layer, and then maybe add like an outer glow to your phone or something like that, whatever you like. See that? Now we have a glow, and maybe we can match that glow up there. Totally up to you. This is just something that you can do for fun if you wanted to make it seem like your phone was glowing. In this case, I didn't really want to do that, but I wanted to show you that option. Now we have about 1 minute, but I'm going to try to show you really quickly how to do the next step, which is creating the reflection. Notice how the surface is very reflective. It's actually quite easy to do. All you need to do is press Control J, Command J on the skater copy, and then unlink it. So I'm just going to unlink it so that it doesn't affect the other layers when I move him. Control T, Command T to transform, flip it vertical, and then come right here, right about here. And then what I'll do is I'll create a group, put him in that group, and apply a layer mask to that group, because I don't really want to hide, I don't want to distort the layer mask that I already created, because I may need to move him around later. So that allows me to have that flexibility to move them around like so. See that? Pretty cool stuff. You can bring down the opacity, maybe change the blending mode to like multiply or something like that, and now you have the reflection for your skater. Um, so yeah, guys, let me know in the comments what you guys think. I gotta get going. Thank you so much for watching. But before I go, actually, you know what? Let me do one last thing. The schedule. We have Andre Lero next with photo retouching, so make sure you stick around for him. We have Andrew for a daily creative challenge with Illustrator, and we have Stephanie for editorial design, Howard Pinsky for Adobe XD, always a good job with Howard, and then Kyle Webster for a draw along, and a design off with Voodoo Val and Brandon Gross. I would love to see the work that you create. Make sure that you submit it into Behance, and also make sure that you use the hashtag PS Daily Challenge on Behance. So submit it to Behance, use the hashtag, and on Discord. I'll catch you on Discord. Make sure that you go into the Discord page and submit your work under current challenge. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here today. I'll catch you again tomorrow for another Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. Thank you so much. Bye.